Chapter 2. The Pony for All Act of 2018. So Hillary Clinton, in her book, said to Bernie Sanders, "It's so nice that you want to give everybody a pony, Bernie. Everybody would love a pony, but how are you going to pay for it?" So that inspired Stephanie Kelton's article in 2017, and that article inspired this chapter. Good news, the Congress and the President have gotten together and they have decided that they will be giving every single American citizen, every man, woman, and child in the United States a free pony if they want one. And you and I are members of Congress, and it is our job to write this bill. So here is the current situation. We have 320 million Americans around, and we have approximately 500,000 ponies. Demand far outstrips supply. So we must make these things roughly equal. Demand must roughly equal supply, or we're going to have a very big problem. There's only one of two solutions. One is to increase supply, and one is to decrease demand, or some combination of the two. So we could decrease demand, but that goes against the whole point of this law, a Pony for All Act of 2018. So that doesn't really make sense. We could deport or kill hundreds of millions of Americans as well to decrease demand. We're not going to do that. So we are going to increase supply. We could import ponies from other countries, probably won't make much of a difference. We could create robotic ponies, probably won't make much of a difference. So the most obvious solution is to reproduce. So our current population of 500,000 ponies must be increased to 320 million. How do we do that? Well, the obvious solution is that mommy and daddy ponies are going to have to do their things over and over and over again. So we now have to understand, if we're going to figure out how long this is going to take, we have to figure out the gestation period for a horse, roughly 10 to 11 months. After giving birth, how quickly can the mommy do it again? Say roughly 2 months. So every cycle is about a year. So given these biological constraints, how long will it take to reproduce 500,000 to 320 million? Very roughly, we'll say 20 years. That's how long it's going to take. So now the population of ponies is exploding, and that has enormous consequences because we can feed and shelter and care for 500,000 ponies, no problem. We've been doing it forever. But now the population is exploding, so now we're going to need many more supplies. More food, more water, more farms, fencing, shelter, horseshoes, caring for the land, which means we're going to need to educate millions of more blacksmiths and veterinarians and caretakers and breeders, which means that now we're going to have to distribute these things across the country, so trucking and shipping. So a new industry is being created with lots of new jobs, which is a wonderful benefit, but that is not the important point. Now it's 20 years later, and the people are going to pick up their ponies. We have the best staff, best people. It's not going to be chaotic. It's going to be perfectly organized. That's not a problem. But the people don't know how to take care of ponies, so we have to train them. Their homes are not prepared to take care of ponies, so we have to prepare them. So all of the resources, no, all of the supplies and services that we just spoke about now have to be reproduced at a micro level all across the country. And finally, what do we do when they die? So this is the full life cycle. This is what it takes to create this bill. This is what it takes to give every single American a free pony. It genuinely could happen, as silly as it is. It genuinely could be done. This is our bill. However, let's say someone comes in and says 20 years is not acceptable, it's got to be done in 5 years, okay? So we write a law that says it must be done in 5 years. We threaten the people and we say if you don't do it in 5 years, you're going to have severe consequences. And we're also going to say, I know it's going to be hard, so we're going to throw $10 trillion at it. So what's going to happen? No amount of money or laws or threats can change biological processes. Can't change the best gestation period of a horse doesn't change because you give them some money. No amount of money can change how fast all of these things are distributed around the country. No amount of money can change how fast we can educate millions of people to be veterinarians and blacksmiths and so on. And no amount of money can change how fast to prepare the people, training in their homes. This is the point. Nothing can make this happen quicker than 20 years. It is out of human control. To the federal government, the only thing that matters is real resources. To the federal government, money doesn't matter. When I say real resources, I mean raw materials, labor, technology, and time, because we can have those things, but we need time to make it happen, in this case, 20 years. So there's often an argument made against MMT, which we've heard a couple of times already today, that MMT says that we can spend, as much as we want without consequence, which I inaccurately said before. We can spend as much as we want without consequence. We can have everything we want, which of course is going to cause hyperinflation. Often this argument is done in bad faith. But if the Congress does not spend more money into the economy than our real resources can handle, our productive capacity, our capacity to produce more than that can handle, then there is no inflationary risk. In fact, in many cases, it is simply impossible to spend more money into the economy than our real resources can handle. And the problem is not worrying about inflation. That's not our real problem. Our problem is that we leave so many resources idle that could be benefiting the people. So much labor that is simply unemployed or unhappy, ready to do good work for the people, and we let them sit idle. That's the problem. And finally, we can tax back money to give the government extra space to spend more money. To the federal government, money doesn't matter. Only real resources matter. And if we can give everyone in the country a free pony, then why in the world can't we give Americans free health care and college? And why can't we forgive student debt when, directly speaking, there are almost zero real resources involved in doing so? Next chapter. Why do we collect federal taxes?